Welcome back to the Ready to Roll podcast. I am your host, Roxy, and today we are chatting with female fight nutritionist on Instagram, otherwise known as Lindsey Doyle. We're talking all things training around your cycle, how to fuel for that, fueling and training around your cycle for competitions, as well as supplements and which ones are good to take. Now, this is a two-part series. This is part number 1, so tune in. I hope you love it, and let me know in the comments.
So, first of all, welcome and thanks for joining me. That's awesome. For everyone listening at home, this is Lindsey Doyle, also known as the female fight nutritionist, basically your favorite female fighters nutritionist on Instagram. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this chat. I think you're going to have a lot of valuable information for people out there. So this is going to be really cool. So first of all, just, I guess, a little introduction from yourself. What got you into nutrition, and in particular, nutrition for combat sports?
Yeah, it's actually been quite a long road, but we're here now. I started martial arts myself when I was 16, but I started kickboxing for like a school project, and I just loved it. That started then my journey making weight for years and years and years for fights and stuff. And I had, in the meantime, I studied law in university, and I was going in the legal career route. And then it occurred to me that I actually really just was creating my life around training. You know, I was getting a job that I could train around, and I thought maybe actually I'll work in training. So I became a personal trainer and a strength coach. But all the while I was self-experiment on myself making weight. I was keeping on top of research that really didn't exist for females, but I was looking at old wrestling research and stuff like that and trying to figure out how to do weight cuts properly. I was killing myself, starving myself, then learning as I went. Started kind of helping I was on the Irish kickboxing team, and my teammates started noticing that I was doing some funny stuff when we traveled to make weight, and that I was actually eating and they weren't. And so I started helping out a few of the girls on the team to make weight. And then a few of my friends went to MMA. I started helping them make weight. And then I just thought I had done, like a sports nutrition diploma. And I was like, okay, I need to formalize this. So I went and done a master's in nutrition and exercise science, and I done my research master's on female athletes making weight for jiu-jitsu and whether their menstrual cycle is affected. So it's been a lifelong. It's me. I'm working with myself every day. People are like, oh my God, your content resonates so much with me. And I'm like, I'm literally talking to my 23, 24-year-old self who was afraid to eat anything other than chicken and broccoli when she had a fight coming up, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're very well, what's the word I'm looking for here? Educated, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's what a lot of the girls like, is that they're like, okay, she knows the science and the nutrition, but she also knows how I feel, because it's a lot of it is about feeling. Like making weight is an emotional situation. So they appreciate that I made weight for kickboxing. I've had MMA fights, jiu-jitsu, boxing. So I've done all the day before weigh-in, same day, multi-day. I've done every type of weigh-in. I actually done a powerlifting competition. I had to weigh in for that.
How good. That's awesome. Yeah. Like it's, I feel like you're rare. Like there's not a lot of people who have done what you've done in terms of like making weight yourself, but also have the education behind it, you know?
It's nice. Because I can resonate with people on a lot of the, you know, disordered eating or the body image issues that are prevalent with female combat athletes. I've worked through my own version of them, you know.
Yeah, I think that's so good, because like, even let's take martial arts out of it. I feel like a lot of, particularly women, maybe men as well, but obviously like I'm a woman, so I can resonate with that. Have had some part of their life where there's been some amount of disordered eating. Like I know that I definitely had it as well. And it's so good that you can resonate and speak to them on that emotional level as well. It's like, it's more than just eat this.
It's food. Yeah. And I say to people, like, my passion is getting people eating really lots of food whilst making weight and like improving relationship with body and nutrition. and looking at performance nutrition rather than starvation nutrition. So when people come to me, I'm very clear. I'm like, I'm not giving you a meal plan. We're not going to do 8 weeks of 1,200 calories. There's plenty of people you could find on the internet that will do that for you. But what I want to do is teach you how to fuel yourself, to train well, but also not compromise your health in any way. And you're going to be part of that. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. You're going to eat some stuff, and together we're going to decide, is that a good idea, or could we make that a little bit better, you know? So some people aren't ready to hear that, you know, they want to just be told exactly what to do. Tell me what to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they're not ready for me yet. They'll do that maybe for 3 or 4 more camps, and they'll really ruin themselves. And then they might come back to me and say, okay, I'm ready to do the deep work, you know?
Yeah, that's it. And that's so important, because then you're also breaking their beliefs, you know, breaking their beliefs around what they need to do to achieve a certain goal. But I can also see how people, it's that whole pain thing, right? Like, you're not ready to make change until you've reached the significant amount of pain in order to do the work that you need to do to truly make the change and start breaking those beliefs. So that's really cool. I think everyone who gets to work with you is just so lucky.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's awesome. It's such a valuable thing to know, like fueling for performance. I feel like, especially since myself over the past little while, working more with jiu-jitsu athletes and hearing their questions that come up and stuff, and it's so deeply rooted in everyone. You know, avoiding carbs, and oh my gosh, there's just there's a lot to it.
It's crazy, but it's there, like, you know. And it was like one really stark thing that stands out to me, and this wasn't a client, it was just a club mate in my jiu-jitsu club. She was a white belt, and she started, and she was going to her first competition, and she was like, just in the girls group, just like, what weight class should I go in? And we were like, what do you weigh? Go into that weight class. And she's like, oh, do you not have to cut weight to compete? And she just took it as a given that you like, it was, you know. And I was like, oh my God, she's a white belt, she's in her early 20s, there's no need for her to be cutting weight at all, you know. But it's just this assumed thing, and it's a big thing. And it's something that came up in my research, which was that fighters felt if they had to cut weight, it gave them a psychological advantage, because it focused them on the fight. Like you said, the suffering made them focus harder in camp, and they felt like it made them fight better. So there's a lot, I mean, we're decades and decades of mental programming to undo, you know. And again, it's not great for men, but they get away with it. But with the female athletes, you've got your menstrual cycle to consider, and your long-term health. And a lot of people unfortunately still think menstrual cycle is just for fertility. They don't understand that it's like your body's report every month. If there's something changes with your cycle, there's something off. And we're talking bone health, cardiac risk, stroke risk. You know, it's not literally about, I don't want to get pregnant now, so it doesn't matter that I have no period.
I remember it wasn't until my early 30s really that I probably started tracking and noticing changes in my cycle. And then I actually became quite sick, and it was my cycle that I was like, no, something is going on here, because like I can tell, like, it's just not right. And I was quite sick. And then it's just been like, you know, clockwork. And so then I know if I'm not looking after myself, my cycle will tell me.
It's amazing.
You know, and it's
but that's so powerful. And unfortunately we've been led to believe that it's a weakness rather than a power, you know. And I'm trying to explain to people that when your hormones are healthy and your cycle is going really well and your body is fed and fueled, it is so easy to cut weight, because everything is working exactly as it should. And we drop a couple of 100 calories, if even, and things start happening. Versus when you're going from extremes, binging, to heavy restricting for the entirety of camp, big binge afterwards, you're upsetting the rhythms of everything. And then they're the people that come to me and they're like, I'm literally eating nothing and I cannot lose weight. And I'm like, And every time they do that to themselves, it gets deeper and deeper, and our workout gets harder and harder, you know. So I'd love to just catch them all at the teenage years and just not have it happen.
That'd be ideal. And it's so interesting talking about, you know, like you say, for men, it can be difficult, of course, but like for women and training around your cycle, eating around your cycle, especially when it comes like if let's say we're in the least desirable phase of our cycle, but you know, we've got a comp coming up and so you've got to prep for it. And I'm sorry that the competition falls on day one of your cycle, but that you can't fix that. You know what I mean? Like we have so many more considerations to make around that, even in the prep leading up to it. And, you know, because after say day 14, if you have a 30-day, 28-day cycle, it's like things do start getting a little more grindy, and like that's on the lead up to your comp now. So I would love your opinions and advice for girls that find themselves in this situation.
Yeah, and it happens like, you know, well, jiu-jitsu particularly is year round. There's no off season, there's gi season and then there's no gi season, so it's hard. But I think like I'm on a bit of a passion project this year with regards to teenagers, but it literally, if you think about puberty and sports, and we lose a lot of females in that teenage years in sports, and because it quite simply, when boys hit puberty, they get better at sport, they get faster, they get taller, they get stronger, their nostrils get bigger so they can take in more air, their lungs are bigger, they can recover better. Like puberty is amazing for a boy doing sport. A girl hits puberty, she's doing sport, she's got sore boobs, she doesn't know when her period is coming, it's heavy, she's worried about her clothing, she's tired, she's uncomfortable in her body, she starts to put on weight. So from the immediate get-go, your menstrual cycle and your becoming a woman is seen as a negative in sport. So we need to change that. We need to empower people. But with regards to then when, you know, you have someone now trying to make weight for a jiu-jitsu competition or trying to get ready to compete, and it's going to land in a bad time in their cycle for them, the real power that I like to give to people, or to let them know they already have, is to get to know their own cycle. So if you know, so say for example me, the 5 days before I'm due my period, I cannot be filled. Like I could eat 7,000 calories and I'm still
literally.
Yeah. So
there's no full switch.
Yeah, so I preempted. I add in loads of colorful carbs. I also add in loads of chocolate and ice cream if I want to, but it's more so that I know, I'm like, no, because of course when you're judging yourself as a woman, as we do, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm such a pig, I have no self-control, like that, whatever that negative talk is that's gone on in your head. Whereas I now say to myself, yeah, you're due your period at the weekend, that's why you're hungry, and no matter what you do, you're not going to solve that problem. So let's make sure we've eaten some nutritious food and drank some good water and have some ice cream if we want it, or whatever it might be, you know. But of course, if I'm making weight that weekend, that becomes a very different conversation. But still, there's things that can be done. And once you know it's coming, if I know my cycle, okay, I might jump up a kilo that week with a bit of water retention. So I might change up, I might add in like a supplement, like, you know, dandelion root that helps to flush out excess fluid, or I might change up my electrolytes or my hydration status, or I might just not plan to just do a little bit of a light sweat that morning or something, you know. But the power comes in knowing your cycle. And I always say to fighters as well, like they'll be in camp, I say, if you can, plan your sparring days, your heavy, you know, sometimes you get fighters in, or they might go to an open mat and really treat it like competition rolling. Try to do that around ovulation. Or if you're doing it around your period, the few days before or the first day or two, try not to judge yourself harshly over not feeling as good as you do. You're not crap at jiu-jitsu. You're just hormonal, you know.
No, that's so awesome. And I think like you said, the very first thing, and this is what because I get asked the question a lot as well, like training around your cycle and how to adjust your program and everything. And the first thing I always say is, do you track your cycle? Because the amount of times people say no, I'm like, well, how can we train around your cycle if we don't know what your cycle's doing?
And the other side of it as well is there's an ongoing thing on the internet at the minute where it's like, some people are like, you know, when you're due your period, don't leave the house, just lie down.
Oh my God, honestly.
You know? And then it's like, have you ever met a competitive athlete or just a person are you going to take a week off every month? So that's a quarter of the year that you're going to just lie around and do some stretching.
I know. And I say to the women all the time, like, strength training and gaining muscle and strength and size is difficult enough for women as it is. Why do you want to take a quarter minimum of your time off completely? Like, yes, we can make some adjustments and everything, but don't not go to the gym at all. Like I know people that will not do strength training for like 10 days. I'm like, that's a third of your life that you're missing out on potential progress.
And I mean, when you're 70, you're gonna miss those days that you should have been squatting, you know.
Yeah.
But then the other side is like, it makes no difference, just train, blah, blah, blah. Whereas I like to fall somewhere in the middle where it's like, obviously don't preemptively wake up going, oh, I will feel shit today. Don't wake up thinking I will feel crap today because my period is due tomorrow. Wake up, assess how you're feeling, get to the gym, and know things may feel harder. And you can adjust while you're there if needs be, or you might be feeling great and you might PB it. But it's more about knowing what it might be and whether it affects you, because of course it varies hugely between different athletes. So some people do not notice it at all. Some people are crippled. Like for me, I record all my content when I'm ovulating because I'm at my most outgoing, confident, creative. I get ideas.
I saw you put that up the other day and I was like, I actually hadn't thought about that connection. So I'm keen over the next few months to think about that connection.
So I literally plan to talk to camera for Instagram content around ovulation, because I call that the Beyonce phase, where you're like, mother nature out mating at that time. So of course you feel great, you know. But then when I'm due my period, if my social media girl is like, I need some videos, I'm like, well, I can wait. I'm not talking to the camera right now. I'll see you.
You're waiting 2 weeks.
Yeah. But
I love
some
that.
people notice these things and some people don't. So don't preemptively decide it's going to ruin your month or your week.
That's the thing. And like, it's, you know, I actually get so passionate and excited to talk to someone who has the same views around it as me, because it is so rare, you know. And like, I've made a thing like how to train around your cycle, because I think a lot of women think they need to, but actually in the PDF I've got, don't plan to feel like shit. Don't go, well, I've only got 3 days left of feeling good and then I'm going to feel like crap, because some months you won't, you know.
Exactly.
Some months you won't feel like crap, and then you've lost this potential. Like you say, you might PB. You also might have to drag your ass to the gym and, you know, just do the reps, but just go. Yeah.
And as you said, with regards to like martial arts competition or any other competitions that you might be doing, you don't have a choice. They fall when they fall. So kind of leaning into that and learning how to deal with yourself and like not push through, because I don't want to be like that never miss a Monday attitude, because I hate that. It's more about, how do I support myself with this competition that falls at this time of the month? What are my tools in my toolbox that I can make this feel good as I can? And
control the controllables.
100%, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So do you have any specific advice that you would give to someone who is maybe competing, maybe they feel that competition is very important to them and their journey, but unfortunately their fight falls on day 1 or 2 of their cycle?
Well, nutrition is obviously, I'm going to say, but I'm biased, but it's important all month long and like all life long. But performance nutrition is extremely important around competitions if they fall in a time where you might be compromised by what's going on in your body as well. So it would be nailing down their pre-fight nutrition, having all of their food prep done the week leading up to it, making sure they're fully hydrated, fully fed, they have enough carbs in their muscles. If it's jiu-jitsu and it's the same day weigh in onto mats, which jiu-jitsu is. Hydration is always often overlooked, and actually just a little bit of dehydration can make you feel much worse than you need to.
It's crazy.
And like a lot of people they'll try and rely on coffee rather than actual food and water.
Really?
So things like that. And then there's some supplements, like if there is going to be a bit of bloating, there's some things you can do during the week to change your hydration status, because basically the way it works, your body, you get water retention because progesterone affects your electrolyte balance in your body. So when your progesterone drops, which is what causes your period to start, your body tries to scramble. So it's like, I say it's like having a cordial, you know, cordial, like a diluted drink. So if you have like my wadi, the concentration, your body likes a certain concentration. So when it loses a little bit of cordial, it'll draw in more water to try and get it back to its set point. So that's what's happening. So what we can do if you are prone to that bloating is we can add in extra electrolytes to replace the electrolytes that are being taken by your progesterone. That will normally help with the water retention or the bloat. So if you're worried about the weight that comes on just before your cycle, that can help. But we will ideally have tested this the previous month, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I didn't know that. So that's really good to know. I just had a question, and then that's what it was about. It was about creatine. So I get asked a lot about creatine, and I'm sure you do as well, because there's so much talk out there about it making you gain weight, in inverted commas for those just listening, and bloating and stuff. Personally, it doesn't affect me at all. Only positive. I only have positive repercussions from taking creatine. But yes, what are your thoughts around creatine?
Yeah, I think the bloating from creatine is a hangover from the earlier studies and it's the most studied supplement in the world besides protein powder. And it's a wonder supplement, and everyone should be taking it, and not even just for strength, for the brain power, for everything. It helps with everything. So it uses
supplement.
And you can't go wrong. Like, oh, have you got a good brand for creatine? I'm like, you literally can't go wrong with creatine. Creatine monohydrate in one ingredient, it's fine. But yeah, so initially they used to recommend you doing a loading phase of creatine. So they'd have you do like 10 days of maybe 20 grams per day, and then bring it back down to 3 to 5 grams, depending on your size. But the science has moved on a long way since then, and there is actually no need for a loading phase anymore. So you would get bloated probably if you're taking 20 grams, because it's an unnecessary amount, and creatine makes you draw on water. So for most women, 3 to 5 grams is a perfect place to be. I would start at 2.5 for like 5 days, and then if it's all good, go up to the 5. But what I do say to people is creatine works on consistency. It's not the thing that you take once a week when you remember. So if you're either taking it or you don't, so get into the habit. Either, like a lot of people are putting it in their coffee in the morning at the minute, totally fine. Put it in your protein shake, whatever it is that you're doing daily that will get it in. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is, just take it.
It's good. That's exactly what I tell people as well. Just take it. I don't care if you've forgotten in the morning, take it at night. Just get it in.
People as well, they're like, when will I take out my creatine, because it'll makes me retain water and I'm making weight at the weekend? And it's just not the case. There's no need to. If there is a little worry, sometimes I'll tell them, okay, take it out, because we have some science that shows us that when you do take it out, if you've been taking it consistently, it can stay in for 7 to 10 days before the stores start depleting fully. So I'll say to them, you could take it out 5 days before you weigh in, and then when you weigh in, take it, and then you'll be fine. But more so just to work on the consistency with it, because a lot of people with supplements, they dip in and they dip out. Either take it every day or don't bother.
100%. That's awesome. Cool. That's so good. I feel like there's so much information that is going to be very valuable to people there. So now I would like to go through some questions that I got from Instagram.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast, everyone, and make sure that you tune in to part 2. If you are listening to this a little later, it's probably already up. Otherwise, if you're listening to this right as I release it, you'll have to wait a week. In part 2, we answer your questions. So everyone on Instagram submitted some questions and we go over them in great detail. Lindsey is a wealth of knowledge, so I definitely recommend tuning in for that one.